All right, let's dive in. Today, we're talking about a really powerful idea, scientific literacy. But forget the dusty old textbooks and memorizing formulas. We're going to look at this as something much more useful, like a user's guide to reality itself, a tool you can use to make sense of our crazy, complex world.
I mean, just think about it for a second. Every single day, you're just bombarded with information, right? News, data, claims about your health, the planet, you name it. It's a lot. So the real question is, how do you sort through all that noise and figure out what's really going on? Well, that's where scientific literacy comes in. And here's the most important part. This is not about turning you into a scientist, not at all. It's about waking up that inner scientist that, honestly, we all have. It's a way of thinking that just helps you become a more informed citizen, a smarter consumer, basically a clearer thinker. Okay, so let's start with a really helpful way to frame this. The best way to think about scientific literacy is as a powerful new lens. One that helps you see the world around you with so much more clarity. And it's so important to get this. This is not just for people wearing lab coats. This is a practical, everyday skill for everyone. It helps you understand the phone in your pocket, the medical choices you might face, the big environmental issues. It's really about getting at the how and the why behind your daily life. So, if it's a way of thinking, what does that actually look like in practice? What are the actual tools in this mental toolkit? All right, let's open it up and see what's inside. At the very heart of it all is this simple but incredibly powerful little cycle. First, you observe something in the world. Then, you create a kind of mental model to try and explain it. Step 3, you use that model to make a prediction. And finally, you observe again to see if you were right. This simple loop, it's the engine that drives all scientific understanding. Now, besides that core cycle, there are other absolutely crucial tools that cut across every scientific field. Things like peer review, which is just scientists checking each other's work to keep everyone honest, or knowing how to design a fair experiment. And here's a big one. Just having an awareness of the massive scales of size and time in our universe, from a tiny atom to an entire galaxy. These ideas are totally universal. Okay, that's a cool toolkit, but how do you actually build it? Well, here's a brilliant approach. Instead of learning science by subject, you learn it by following the natural history of invention, starting right at the very, very beginning. What's so amazing about this path is how logical and intuitive it is. It all starts with the basic laws of physics from the Big Bang. Then, as things get more complex, we move into chemistry, seeing how atoms clumped together into molecules on the early Earth. From there, biology shows us how life popped up. And finally, the social sciences help us understand human societies. We're literally following the story of the universe as it got more and more complex. And taking this journey requires you to think on scales that are just, well, they're mind-bending. One moment, you're trying to wrap your head around the immense gravitational forces and nuclear fusion happening deep inside a star. And then in the very next breath, you're zooming all the way down to the tiny electrochemical signals firing inside a single neuron in your brain. This is a perfect example of that tool we mentioned, size and timescale awareness. Being able to zoom in and out like that is absolutely key to seeing the whole picture. Which brings us to the most important question of all, right? The big so what? Why does any of this matter? How do these huge ideas about stars and neurons actually connect to your life right here and right now? Well, these abstract scientific ideas have direct lines to the technology we use every single day. That chemical principle of catalysis, that's what's happening inside your car's catalytic converter. The weird physics of how light acts as both a wave and a particle, that's literally how your cell phone camera works. And understanding genes and biotech is obviously crucial for getting your head around modern medicine. See, everything is connected. And when you just step back and look at the major themes of our modern world, you see science everywhere. Pharmaceuticals, our cell phones, the energy we use, medical imaging, how we grow our food, all of it is deeply rooted in the scientific principles we've been talking about. So being literate in this stuff isn't just kind of interesting, it's incredibly practical. So where does that leave us? This brings the journey full circle, right back to that very first step in the scientific cycle, observation. And, more importantly, your role as the observer. This is such a powerful way to think about it. It reframes scientific literacy not just as a handy skill, but as a genuine responsibility. In a world that's so shaped by science and technology, we all kind of have a civic duty to pay attention, to ask good questions, and to be informed observers of the world around us.
This whole idea prompts a really simple but brilliant question. It's an invitation to look beyond what you're told and to start making your own connections. And what else? What other everyday things are rooted in science? What other connections can you find on your own?
And really, that's our final takeaway. This is more than just a bunch of information. It's a call to action for your own inner scientist. So I'll just leave you with this question. With this new lens on reality, what part of your world are you going to choose to observe first?